The Mentors. This is Vadim.
And Sergey.
And you're listening to our weekly segment called The 5-Minute Pick-Me-Up, where we tell you stories to motivate you for the week to come. And this weekend, we did two things that inspired this episode. The first was we went to Providence, Rhode Island for my mom's 70th birthday, and we watched Karen Gomyo perform at the Rhode Island Philharmonic Orchestra. She is actually a world-renowned violinist. But before we talk about Karen, we actually want to talk about our dad. You see, this weekend we ended up watching one of the old documentaries that was made about him and about his experimental school system in Bobruisk, Belarus. And in this clip, he is talking to the interviewer about why the school that he created was important to him.
На мой взгляд, это самое главное, что я вижу, раскрепощение личности.
He loved seeing that the child's character was developing, that they were actually finally in the environment they wanted to be in,
where they found their own personalities.
И когда я вижу улыбки ребят, когда я вижу их настроение, когда я вижу, что они раскрепощенные и свободные,
and he was saying that when he witnessed the students' freedom to explore what they were actually interested in learning, to learn in a way that was effective for them themselves, that was the most fulfilling thing for him in the work that he did. You can hear the passion in our dad's voice. The fact that seeing the impact of the work that he did, specifically for the community that he was addressing, was what fulfilled him most, was what made him get to work at 7 in the morning every day and stay till 8 p.m. every day so that he could see these children thrive in a way that he's never seen before in his long career as an educator.
Now, we've talked about this in our episode series about our dad, How to Do What You Love in a Communist Country, but he happened to find his calling fairly early on as a camp counselor when he was 17 years old. That led him to getting into education. But not everybody finds their passion in the same way or even on the same timeline.
Back to the story about Karen Gomyo, the woman that we got to know through her music at the Rhode Island Philharmonic, is that she said that she actually found her passion violin by accident. She was at a performance, she was born in Japan, and she was at a performance where a young Japanese prodigy, a 14-year-old girl who was an amazing violinist, was playing, and she looked at her and she told her mom, I want to be that girl, I want to be just like her. Her mom got her into the violin. 5 years later, she was invited by a prominent violinist to study at the pre-college program of the Juilliard program in New York when she was just 10 years old. And her mom and her agreed that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that they have to take. But for her, she knew she had her calling from that initial point of motivation. And for some of us, we may notice that we have a lot of these points of fire and passion and motivation that get us to try a new hobby or that get us to start a new business.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think that internal feeling is something you shouldn't ignore. For example, when I'm giving a talk or when I'm in front of the class and I'm engaging with a student, time tends to stay still. I don't want to leave the moment. It's something deep inside that I feel that's clearly internal to me and maybe even specific to me. But how do you know that it's a calling? I mean, maybe it's something that you're passionate in, but how do you know that it's not just something that you're interested in that might be a fleeting feeling? How do you know it's your calling?
So what I think separates just the passion from something that might be a calling is two additional things, right? Aside from initial motivation for something. One is that at some point you start seeing evidence that you're actually proficient and good at that thing through external validation of some sort. People are telling you it's good, maybe you're getting paid for it, maybe you're getting opportunities to work on it more with other people, some inclination that you're good at that thing. That's the first thing that has to exist to give you some evidence that it might be a calling. The other thing is that at some point, when you work on that thing, it will get really, really hard. It gets so hard that you want to stop. And if you find yourself that you're keeping on working on that thing or thinking about it and coming back to it, even if you take some time off, you feel like giving up, but you keep pushing through, then that is probably your final piece of evidence that it's more than just a passion, it's a calling, and you should continue exploring it until you can find success with it. So if you haven't found your calling yet, doesn't matter how old you are, maybe you just haven't tried enough things, right? Had enough experiences. Maybe you just haven't found the right person or people to inspire you.
So clearly the timing doesn't really matter, but what does matter is becoming more aware of when you do have these feelings and taking stock of the moments where you tend to persevere. Just maybe then you'll identify your calling.
That's it for the 5-minute pick-me-up for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, if you could please click the share button in whatever podcast app you're listening in, send it to just one friend who you think might be interested, inspired, or just appreciate the fact that you thought of them that day, and would really help us in spreading the word about this show. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on Wednesday.